Okay, today we have the Speed Triple R. This is a 2013 Speed Triple R. We've done 3 of these bikes. The first one was a 2007 Speed Triple, standard version, of course, and then a 2012 standard version Speed Triple R. No, Speed Triple, Speed Triple. Then the 2013 Speed Triple R. And we're going to kind of check out the differences. One of them, you'll notice all the carbon fiber. So every piece that you see, here's carbon fiber, little windscreen, carbon fiber inserts, you know, all sorts of little carbon fiber pieces. The frame is painted red, and then it's got this cool custom seat on it. Awesome seat. This is so comfortable. And what else we got here? We have a cool carbon fiber Leo vent exhaust, and it is very cool looking. Then the next thing you got is these really lightweight wheels, and they have pinstriped those wheels for you just to make a difference there. So all the little red pieces go really well together. The biggest piece of news on this bike is really the suspension. So the forks are Olin forks. The rear shock is an Olin shock, top of the line, and then the brakes, the Brembo brakes, front and rear, give you a bit better feel on the brakes and a lot more stopping power, supposedly. Let's go check it out. You know, it is interesting that the acceleration on all 3 bikes feels a little bit different. Just a little bit different on all of them. So you've got the 2007, and it had this brute force, you know, it was really, it felt raw, right? And then the 2012, and it felt real linear, it felt very smooth, real dynamic rev range. This just has, and it could do with the pipe, it could do with, you know, maybe a little bit of fuel lane change, but it just has a little extra grunt there at the top. It feels about the same as the 2012 in the lower RPMs. And then, boy, this guy's, I don't know if you can see the smoke coming out of that guy's tailpipe, but it smells horrible. Then in the higher RPM range, it just, all of a sudden you can just feel this thing just give a little more. I wonder if it's the tuning of the pipe. It could be, very well be. Anyways, because I know the motors are exactly the same. So other than that, I'm curious. Now this is a nice smooth road, so it feels exactly the same as that 2012, except for the smell that I'm getting from this guy's truck, and we'll get past that here pretty soon. If I don't die of smoke inhalation first. But anyways, yeah, so cruising along here at slow speeds, I would say it feels the same. It does have different bars on it, and it could be my imagination. They're black bar instead of a silver bar, and they feel a tiny bit different, but it could just be my imagination, just maybe the rotation or where they're sitting. They feel about the same width. Maybe the bar bend's a little bit different. Again, with the windscreens on these, you can get an aftermarket windscreen, and if you're, you know, really wanting some wind protection, then I would say that's the direction you'd have to go. These don't provide any wind protection. I mean, you can see it's even notched out here to where there's not going to be any wind protection. And what we've been finding is on the 2007, it's got a little bit more of a more wind protection on it, and what it does is it buffets right underneath the helmet. Sorry, I was gonna start coughing at everything there because that guy's smoke coming out of that tailpipe was horrible. Anyways, a little fresh air up here is gonna help me. Yeah, so yeah, wind protection. I'd rather it without the wind protection, just because I don't want it buffing under my helmet. That or it's got to be pretty high, just to get it just off the bottom of your helmet. One of the other things I talked about in the other videos is the suspension. on the 2012 Speed Triple and the Speed Triple R was completely set up wrong, and the suspension was locked out. So especially on this bike, the rear suspension was, the compression and rebound dampening settings were maxed out, so really the shock wouldn't move. Surprisingly, it didn't, it would move a little, I guess, but it didn't feel, I mean, it felt bad, but not that bad. And so now we're getting into the rough section, and we'll kind of see how this shock feels. And of course you can feel the bumps, and in the smooth part of the road, it's felt pretty good. It's pretty stiffly sprung. So we're gonna get down here to this bump. This is that bump we've been talking about. It's about a 4-inch bump on this side, and it is right there, and a little bit more of a kick on that bump than on the other two bikes. So this bike is definitely sprung a little bit stiffer. And the settings we're using on all the bikes is standard settings. We didn't go soft, we didn't go race mode, we went standard, just because that's the way it's supposed to be delivered. And one thing I can tell you, if you buy a bike and it's brand new, or you buy a bike from somebody else, anytime you buy a motorcycle, check the suspension settings. It's more times than not, it's completely wrong. Unless they had it tuned by somebody, it's probably not right. Go to standard settings and then kind of adjust from there. And so let's see how this is on the rough roads. This is a really rough part here, and we'll just see how it handles. I want to make sure that the rear end's not flopping off the ground. It is a lot stiffer, I can certainly say that. Not as forgiving. What about around that? That's not so bad there. That's a pretty rough corner. They smooth out a little bit as we go. Handling the bike's fine. And as far as confidence inspiring on a rough road, you find with a softer suspension, more confidence inspiring, because you're not getting unsettled, where this bike's pretty hard. And of course this is a rough road, so let's try those brakes. They're good. We need to try those out a bit more. We need some harder braking here, but entry. So with the lighter wheels, and there may be lighter tires too, you tend to feel it in rotational force will hold your line with a little bit heavier wheel, where this you can kind of adjust that at any moment. It certainly feels a lot more flickable, I guess would be the word. So transition from right to left, and at any given moment, normally I just haul ass up through here, but it's so stiff that I don't feel like hauling ass up through the really bumpy sections. I'm actually pulling my butt off the seat. Now, this is all set up for standard settings, so I could go to the soft setting. But I think if I rode roads like this, I'd have to go to the soft setting with this bike. But on the track, if you do track days, yeah. Get some brakes here. Oh yeah, those Brembos are nice. Get a lot of stopping power. So I think I would consider going soft with the suspension for back roads. There's probably you probably have a lot of range here with the suspension. They go wide there because there's some sand in the corner. brakes are phenomenal. It'd be terrible if somebody's following me, because my speed's never consistent, because I'm always trying something else. I want to try the brakes, okay. I want to go slow through a corner. I want to go fast through a corner. Somebody are following me, they think I was a little insane. But it's good to kind of give it all a try. Now I'm running pretty low RPM here, and so it feels exactly the same as that 2012. And so on the street, it's up there where you can really feel it. Start getting up around 8,000 RPM, and you just feel, and it may just be the way the pipe's working with the engine. It just seems to be a little more aggressive in the power band up there. Yeah, so it is interesting. So with the other bikes, I'd say they hold their line really, really well. And when you got lighter wheels, it's not going to hold its line the same. So it's going to feel less confidence inspiring to a, say, novice rider or an intermediate rider. But you can pick your line anytime. You know, it's like you can go out wide, come in, or already to the end. This is our turnaround point. But you can go wide, you could go in, you could kind of just choose where you want to be with the bike. Whereas the other one's going to hold its line a little bit more and take a little bit more force to make the correction. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that can, you know, give a mathematical equation on rotational force and weight, and when that's spinning, and what that does to your transition from right to left. But, you know, I don't know. I just know what it feels like from the seat of my pants. So these bikes, all three of them are a bit different. And it's interesting, you know, being all the same speed triple. And I know they set out to make this a very specific bike so that you could do a little bit more competitive track days, probably go out and race it. Whereas the other are a little bit more focused towards the street. And I think if you want that competitive advantage, this would be a real competitive bike on the track. But if you're going to do a lot of back roads and they're going to be rough, then the standard version is probably the best bet. And that, or you could really try and soften this one up. If you are commuting, I would go back to, like, say, the 2007. Well, and especially if you find one with a suspension setup like that one, because then you've got, you know, a really great bike for commuting. You've also got a bike that will handle fantastic on the back roads, and you go out and do some track days with it too. Not quite as competitive as, to say, this bike or even the 2012, but if your focus is going to be more on, you know, commuting around town, things like that, that would be fantastic. And I think my focus would probably be more around doing back roads, maybe some long trips, and then I would go with a standard version. But if I ever did track days, I'd be very tempted for this bike. I mean, really buying a lot more high-tech suspension, better brakes. I'd say the carbon fiber is a gimmick, but it looks cool. I don't think we're losing a lot of weight there. I think the bikes probably weigh the same. Even though you got lighter wheels, I believe that the larger brakes probably make up for that. But they're not spinning, so it certainly makes a difference in how the bike turns. It just whips, you know, just side to side. I don't know what to, you know, if you ride a bicycle and you ride a fat tire bike or a normal mountain bike, it's the way they kind of transition through the corners. Sort of has that feeling, I guess. And you know, the brakes on this are fantastic. I think they did a great job on the brakes. I'm impressed with the brakes of the 2012 and impressed with the brakes on this bike. Better than average. Way better than average. And comfort-wise, I've probably said this in almost every one of my Triumph videos, but they seem to have a #1 vision to make you comfortable. And these bikes are comfortable. Yeah, they just seem to drop into corners and just keep going. And a really big bumps down in here. This one, yesterday we got a little airborne off that one. And we pull it off into top gear and just kind of cruise. And let's see what this pipe sounds like. It's pretty quiet. I love the look of this pipe. It just has a amazing high quality look to it. Good sound. So I guess my result of all these bikes together, you know, it's I think it all kind of speaks for itself, but the most confidence inspiring bike of all three is that 2012. The highest performance bike is going to be this 2013 R. Best for commuting, here's a big bump. Now this is an 8-inch bump. I gotta get off my seat. Yep, that's that airborne, and the bike kicked a little bit. So the suspension is probably set up a little stiff for me on the road. I know it feels stiff for me on the road. All right, so then yeah, if you're commuting, that 2007, just because price point, you don't have to worry about the bike as much. And well, those are the big kicks, really. You don't have to worry. The price point is a lot when you have a commuter bike, I think, because you have to leave the bike out. You're leaving it alone all day. Sometimes you have to leave them in the rain. Getting a less expensive bike would be preferable, and especially when you get that level of performance, you can kind of do everything with the bike. And then, you know, if you're going to be competitive track days, I think you'll be really competitive on this bike. Be fantastic, and you know, on a smooth track. And there we have it. That is our review of all three of the Speed Triples. At least our ride reviews. We can get into some of the details. Maybe we'll do a walk around of each bike. Cheers.